Okay, so I just wanted to give a little bit of backstory about myself. My name is Amber, and I am a metalhead. I love heavy metal music. I listen to all different types of music, really, like literally every genre. But my favorite is and always will be heavy metal and punk rock. That's just what speaks to me. And, I kind of have fallen a little bit out of the loop of some of the most current bands and things going on and on the scene for the past couple of years due to like personal reasons and stuff. So I'm trying to get back, up on it. Try to discover some new artists, see what some of my older bands are doing now, those type of things. So this channel is going to be mostly like, me doing reaction videos and album reviews and looking for new artists to get into. So just to give a little bit of backstory on how I got into heavy metal, even though it's been most of my life, the way that I got into rock music was like just so funny. So I figured I'd just kind of like briefly share that story. So basically, I am an 80s baby. I was born in 86. And I had an older sister who is about 7 years older than me. So by the time I became old enough to know what music is, it was towards the end of the hairband phase going into the grunge phase, and I hated it. Like my first recollection of music was like Poison and Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses, and my sister being 7 years older than me, it is when you have an older sibling, whatever they are into is what you're into, and I completely idolized her. So I followed everything she did, everything she listened to, except for Guns N' Roses. My sister was the biggest Guns N' Roses fan ever. And it's so funny because now I'm like the rocker and she makes fun of me for listening to rock music. But when we were younger, she was the one that loved rock music. And I was the one who was into like pop and R&B and hip hop and that kind of stuff. We listened to like Melissa Etheridge, and Tom Petty was another favorite of hers, but she really loved Guns N' Roses. So whenever any of their music videos came on, which was every 5 minutes, she would blast the TV all the way up and just go crazy. And I hated Guns N' Roses. I was only like 5 or 6 at the time, but even then something about them just made my skin crawl. I don't know. So I never liked them. And I think it was 91 when November Rain came out. And when I tell you, I hated that video so much. I hated that video. And she just like, it spoke to her soul. Like she loved it. And whenever it would come on, she'd blast it. And then she would like reenact the whole video and cry and make a whole scene out of it. And it was a lot of theatrics. It was so dramatic. I didn't understand why the video was so long and it was so dramatic. Like, oh my God, I didn't get it. I still don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, how did she even die? Like, did they even explain how she died? I assume it's because one of the groomsmen went flying across the reception and landed on her. Maybe she ate a piece of cake and got poisoned. I don't know. We never even found out why she died. But then she dies, and they're singing, and then the rain is falling, and the rose petals are slowly falling onto the steps. It's just too much. And then you got Slash out there in the desert playing guitar with no amp, no electrical cord running from the church. How are you playing guitar in the middle of the desert, Slash? And then why is your solo like 3 minutes long? 90% of that video is Slash's guitar solo. I love Slash as much as the next person, but there is no reason for a solo to be that long. The whole video is just too much. It's too much. And then kind of around the same time that video came out, I think Tom Petty's video for Last Dance with Mary Jane came out. And in that video, she was obsessed with that one too. He's like dancing with her dead body and making her up. It was the two videos combined. It was too much. It was way too much and way too dramatic for me. So maybe it's probably my sister's fault that I don't like them because she just like overdid it so much. I don't know. But either way, I couldn't stand Guns N' Roses. I've come to my senses on Tom Petty though, don't worry. I do like Tom Petty now. but Guns N' Roses I've never ever liked. And you know, between them and Poison and some of them other bands, that was all I knew of rock music, and that's all I thought it was. I had never heard anything else, so I didn't like it, and I made it a point to stay away from it. You know, I was just too busy listening to like Mariah Carey and Hanson and Spice Girls and stuff like that. Like, that's what I liked. So then, flash forward about 3 years. I'm sitting in front of the TV one Sunday watching music videos, you know, like usual on VH1, and the video for Black Hole Sun came on by Soundgarden. And when I tell you, it was love at first sight. Like, I just remember feeling so hypnotized by that video and that song. Like, I could not move. It was just, I had never heard anything that sounded like that before. The video was creepy. It gave me nightmares. It still does. The video still freaks me out. But the song, like, just Chris's voice, and then just Matt's playing, like, everything, the riffs, like, I just had never heard that sound before, but I loved it. And I was just like, this is what I should be listening to all the time. Like, this is real music. This is saying something. I was in love. And from them got me into more bands. I think next was like Pearl Jam, you know, obviously. I didn't like Nirvana. I still don't really like Nirvana. I didn't like them back then because that video for Smells Like Teen Spirit was played like every 5 minutes, and it was just annoying. But I don't like them now, not because they weren't good, but I don't know, for other reasons. Maybe I'll make another video about it lately, another time, but it's just not my thing. But you know, it just spiraled like onto everything. And it's so funny because Soundgarden was the first band to get me into rock music, but I kind of forgot about them for a little bit once I discovered Stone Temple Pilots. When I discovered Stone Temple Pilots, I was hooked. Like, they were my favorite band for, gosh, like a good 12 years or more. Like, and I'd kind of forgotten about Soundgarden a little bit. You know, Scott, between both of them, I mean, Chris and Scott are both like two of the two greatest frontmen, singers, songwriters, just musicians as far as I'm concerned, like in history. Like, they're both just musical geniuses. So I kind of, you know, became obsessed with them a little bit, but then I got into, like, you know, Smashing Pumpkins and Garbage. Garbage was another good band of mine in the 90s. Just pretty much all of them. I loved all of those bands. And then by the time I got to high school in, like, the early 2000s, it started getting a little bit heavier. I started listening to, like, Disturbed and more Metallica and a little bit more punk bands, because at that point in time, punk rock had started getting a little bit more popular, especially in my my town. We had a lot of like local punk bands and stuff like that. So like, there's a couple of them. Leftover Crack. They're kind of like a regional band for the Northeast a little bit. They were pretty big. Who else was I into? There was a all-female underground punk band called Lunatics, who I loved. I don't even know if they're still around anymore. I need to check out. I had all of their albums. Godsmack, stuff like that. Like, I really just loved like a lot of like heavy music. And I listened to a lot of death metal as well. A lot of like Venom and black metal and all of that kind of stuff. Which is funny because, yeah, that's the kind of a play on words with the name of my channel title, Blackmetalqueen. I don't really like black metal anymore. I'm not anywhere near as dark and angsty as I was in my youth. So I don't really like black metal or death metal anymore. But, you know, I'm still black and I like metal, so hence the name. But I listened to a lot of that stuff back then. A lot of Cold Chamber, Cattle Decapitation, Zumugbori, Rammstein, a lot of like just like dark stuff back then. Lacuna Coil, which I guess I still kind of like them a little bit. let's see. And then I went to like my first concert freshman year of high school, which was Disturbed's first Music as a Weapon tour, which was an amazing experience. I may do another video on that sometime. Another band that was kind of popular at the time, but they kind of like faded away, called Stereo Mud. I loved those guys as well. They also were on tour with Disturbed, so that was good. But yeah, so like the older I got, the more heavy my taste in music got. And now it's kind of like mellowed back out. Like I said, I'm not as depressed anymore, so I like more melodic type of metal. Something, you know, that can kind of groove to a little bit. I guess more like new metal or hardcore. Yeah. And then, you know, throughout high school and part of college as well, I used to roadie for a few local or regional bands around here. So I had a lot of experience with that as well. Just a lot of experience at shows, you know, doing stuff for bands backstage and all that kind of thing. So I don't know, definitely may still do some videos on that. But yeah, so anyway, like, I mean, I totally came back to Soundgarden. I ended up falling back in love with Soundgarden after they broke up, like around the time that Chris's solo album came out. Then I was like, oh shit, I forgot about Soundgarden, and I went back and listened to all their old stuff. It's still one of my favorite bands. Like I said, Chris Cornell is like the greatest rock artist as far as I'm concerned. Like, I'm obsessed with his voice, obsessed. Scott Weiland is a very close second for greatest vocalist of all time for me, but a very close second, very close. Some of my other favorite bands, I love Hed PE. I've been a huge fan of Hed PE since '98. I don't know, I like so many different bands. Like, I literally like everybody. I can't even like list all of them right now. But basically, more along the lines of hardcore. I love some death metal bands I do still like. Mainly, I've never liked thrasher metal or any of that stuff. It's way too chaotic. But I'm definitely going to be doing a lot of reviews and reactions on here. And if anybody has any other suggestions of stuff that I should check out, just let me know in the comments. And subscribe to my channel if you want to just kind of go on this journey with me. So yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.